Holly, how are you doing? Can I hear you? Hold on. Sorry. That's my fault. Oh,
There we go. All right,
that's
it was
it.
the screen, not my headset this time.
Yeah, yeah. No, listen, it's 100% fine. Right. How are you keeping, Holly? Keeping good?
I'm doing well. How about you?
No, I'm fine. I'm really good. I'm just plugging away at the channel, just trying to keep it going. Do you know what I mean? Trying to do interesting topics that I like to do and what other people want to do, but not trying to cause any drama, should I say? Yeah, listen, we done a Scientology podcast about a month ago, a month and a
Yep,
half ago, or
something like
something.
that.
Yeah, but there's more to what we talked about. I've been reading a little bit. I done a video today. I was sort of taking the piss a little bit, just having a bit of fun and jokes with it. I heard something to do with like human trafficking and Scientology, and
Yep.
I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you. And then the sort of the little man syndrome, where they're saying they have 10 million followers, but they've only got like 500,000. And
Actually, that was one of the things I wanted to mention. One of the former Sea Org members that we've been trying to keep in contact with, you and I,
mhm.
or have been trying to get interested, actually made his own video estimating how many Scientologists there are worldwide, and he estimated a max of 35 to 50,000.
Wow. So they're
So
not
like
even
1/10 of what you just said.
so even the journalists were trying to give them credit.
Or they just didn't know exactly how much. They might have not had access to all the data, all census data
Wow.
and stuff like that.
Wow. That's Tom Cruise, the little shit. The little shit. He's People just think there's loads of people, but do you know what? It's just maybe like 100 people just rubbing his feet and feeding him grapes all day, thinking that he's the king.
That's the Sea Org members who work with him.
Oh, is that the ones? Is it?
I know he has some Sea Org staff that work with him full time.
Wow.
I'm sure.
What an absolute prick he is.
But
No, listen, I love his movies, but he's a prick. But listen, what we're going to do is, right, we're going to just give a brief 10 minutes on the history of Scientology for the people that are watching this live and the people that will watch this afterwards. So 10 minutes, Holly, let's give it the brief, and then we'll go into the finer details. What's the brief from start to where it is now? Just a brief on
all
it.
right, so started with a book called Dianetics in 1950, written by L. Ron Hubbard, which involved some pseudo psychology, let's just say. The official religion wasn't started until 54. I realized that I said 52 in the last podcast we did. So thank you for helping me realize, based on your most recent video, that I had that date wrong.
I was reading off Google, so don't thank me for that. It's Google.
But no, so yeah, 1954 he started it. 1959 he I should probably explain exactly what the practice was.
Mm-hmm.
It involved going back into your previous moments of your life and helping to get rid of negative emotions and feelings associated with those moments. So whether that was a fight you had or just some conflict or whatever, it's a way just to help you emotionally get over it.
Self-help.
Yeah, self-help, kind of like regression therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So 59, Hubbard bought St. Hill Manor over in East Grinstead, Sussex, which is one of the biggest Scientology centers in the world. I believe I want to say it's an advanced org, but I do believe that they do have class 5. Right. Sorry. St. Hill is an advanced organization. It's not a class 5 org. For those of you who don't know, class 5 org is where you first go in when you enter. An advanced org is what you do once you reach the state of clear.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of where else we were. 1960s, Hubbard established the Sea Organization when he was obviously out on a boat at sea on the Apollo, involving getting Scientology all over the world and managing the organizations. Obviously, this was later brought to land in the 70s when Hubbard got to Clearwater, Florida, and purchased the Flag Land Base. What's now called the Flag Land Base used to be this hotel, and now in Clearwater, they actually own, I believe it's over 100 and some odd properties in downtown Clearwater. which actually leads to a pretty negative reputation down there.
Right. Okay.
So
We'll get into that too, because
yeah,
we love the negative here, Holly. We really do. Like, it's just,
but all right. So let me think. We have the 60s, the 70s, 1980. Hubbard went into hiding. And a quick fact: in France, I believe it was in the 70s when just before he went out to sea, he was wanted for, I wanted to say it was tax evasion. I could be wrong on that.
No, I'd say you're probably right. Looking into this guy, it's probably one of the reasons why he started this year was to avoid tax.
Well, and that's another thing that I wanted to correct from the previous podcast was I said that they didn't gain tax exemption until 93. The California and DC founding churches actually gained it in 56 and 57. DC lost it in 58 on the grounds that their practices didn't constitute an exclusively religious or educational activity. And there was some stuff that had to do with annulment and some of the money going straight to Hubbard in his personal account.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a reason that they lost tax exemption. And then later, after all the fighting with the IRS that David Miscavige and Marty Rathbun did and all the lawsuits and stuff like that.
And that was the 80s, wasn't it?
That went up, I think, since
80s to 93.
Yeah, 86 to 93. 86, by the way, Hubbard died. They say that he left to go to Target 2, which is another place in the galaxy or in the universe to go start Scientology somewhere else or to do more OT research. They have a chart of procedures called the Bridge to Total Freedom, where you can either become an auditor, which is like their version of a counselor, or you can become a pre-clear or pre-OT, where you can actually get the auditing done, where you can get the counseling done on yourself.
Wow. It's looking into this since we done the last one. Now that's just a wee brief of it. It started in 1953.
54, yep.
1954, sorry. And it's still going to this day, but it was quite big in the 80s.
It was. 80s had a huge boom in its member size. I think it had max maybe 100, 200,000 people. But it was due to this Dianetics campaign. They recreated this whole advertising campaign for Dianetics back in the 80s, and it was a huge success. Mm-hmm. It brought it back to the bestseller list on the New York Times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's quite actually crazy how such a small cult religion, should you say, because it's a very small minority that was involved in this, but they had a massive impact on certain parts of America and certain parts of Hollywood. It was like a designer. It was like buying Nike. This is my religion, but it's actually like the designer religion because it was exclusive to a lot of people back then. Would I be right in saying that?
I don't know if you would say it was exclusive to Hollywood.
Not exclusive, but I mean, yes, me and you could have joined. But for instance, the likes of, I think John Travolta was in it since 1975.
Yeah.
And he sort of credits Scientology for the resurgence in his career. And whenever his son died, they basically were like just surrounded him and helped him and said like, your son didn't have autism and stuff, and he, they were really freaky and weird. But he said, it gave him a lot of peace. But he says his resurgence in his career was down to Scientology and nothing else. So what I mean for the celebrities, yes, it was like the designer religion.
Yeah, they had a specific. L. Ron Hubbard had a specific goal to gather celebrities. He actually established the thing in 1955. It was in one of their church magazines called Ability Magazine, and it was called Project Celebrity. The whole point was to get people to recruit celebrities and get them into auditing, get them to start doing auditing and services. And there's actually a list of some celebrities that that if people wanted to claim to try to recruit, they could say, hey, I want to try to get this guy. And they'll be like, all right, he's your target now. Go ahead, go get him and get him into the church.
Do you think they tried to go down the Freemason route where they tried to turn it into like a sort of a mainstream thing where you could be like, I always think like, if you look at all the different types of culty things out there, you have the Freemasons, which is generally just a gentleman's club, and anybody can join, but you can be any religion. It seems like at one stage, L. Ron Hubbard wanted wanted it to become this sort of worldwide thing where anybody could join.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't know too much about it, but is it your guy Miscavige then took over him?
Yep, Miscavige took over after Hubbard died in '86.
He had a bigger ego, didn't he? He had a
Oh,
massive.
I think he absolutely does for
Yeah.
for a 5'1" guy.
Oh, 5'1".
5'1", 61 inches tall.
Wow. What can you? I don't know even what to say. He's 5'1". You would just it's like Attack of the Hobbits. Attack of the Hobbits. All these little small men coming at you. But listen, that's getting away from from what we're talking. So there's a brief, right? It's this crazy, wild, religious self-help cult. Probably started off as a good thing.
Mhm.
And then we've came up to the 80s, and now at 93, 94, it gets tax exemption.
Yes, 93.
Right, 93, it gets tax exemption, and this is where sort of the shit hits the fan for them, isn't it? This is where the crazy stories start to come out. It turns really culty then, doesn't it?
What do you mean by crazy stories?
Like you hear like where they treat their workers just like slaves, like they're given nothing. They're just they're there to do the bidding of the hierarchy.
It was gradually. I mean, it's always been public. It's not always been publicly known, but like ever since Paulette Cooper in the 70s, she was a journalist and she put out a book called The Scandal of Scientology, and she was what's called fair game. She was harassed. She was stalked. She was actually almost put in prison for forging bomb threats.
I read about her,
threats to the church. Yeah, so,
I read about her.
But once the FBI raided the church, they found the documents that said basically we're going to frame her for bomb threats and trying to harass us. And they had her, stationery, her paper with her fingerprints on it that they somehow got, whether that was by her throwing some stuff out and then going through her garbage or whatnot. But they had her stationery with her fingerprints on it, and they forged her signature.
The whole sellotape trick. They got the sellotape off the glass. And
pretty much. That I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Now, that was the Guardian's office. But after the whole Project Snow White fiasco, or Operation Snow White, going into government offices all around the world and stuff and trying to basically steal all the documents or destroy all the documents that had a negative impact about Scientology. They were discovered about Operation Snow White and Paulette Cooper, and that's when shit really started to hit the fan because people knew what kind of dirty tricks the OSA or the Guardian's office at the time was willing to do. They then became the Office of Special Affairs. Yeah,
they were the police of Scientology.
Pretty much. You could say police.
Police, but they were not police, but wrong word, sorry, but they were the enforcers of Scientology. Anything that was going wrong, if you were saying, like, for instance, if I was a Scientologist and I defected away from Scientologists and I'm on this stream right now, they're out the front of my house intimidating me. They
very well might be, yeah. And you had mentioned in your video about something called a dead agent pack, which I actually wanted to talk about. There was. So if you were a Scientologist and you were to leave, they would either look through your background, like you mentioned, or they would use your auditing confessionals or anything you've said during your auditing. They'd put that in a big pack called a dead agent pack, and they put it up everywhere or post it somewhere, in our case, online, most likely, or they'd make a hate website about you that they've done with so many things and basically try to completely screw over your reputation.
So would they go as far as to make up lies just if you were squeaky clean?
If you were squeaky clean, that actually kind of happened with Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, once they put out their episode. For those of you who don't know, the guy who played Chef, Isaac Hayes, actually was a Scientologist and left the show because of what they did.
Oh.
And that's one of the reasons why they had him killed off in the later episodes.
Yeah, what's that? Suck on my salty balls.
Yeah, chocolate salty balls.
Put them in chocolate salty balls. Put them in your mouth and suck them.
Yeah,
suck 'em.
Something like that.
Jesus
I haven't seen that episode in a long time, but there was an episode or a two-parter where he was part of some like explorers club and he ended up getting basically thrown off the cliff and killed. But you could tell they were using voice clips cut from other episodes to make that episode. So you would hear "Hello, children," and it wouldn't sound like a necessarily like one recording. It would sound like two bits of recordings put together.
Right.
It was because he was gone, because he was out of the picture.
So that leads me on to, I know we're going to get into the little details here, but that leads me on. So that was Trey Parker who played him.
No, that was Isaac Hayes who played Chef.
Where did I get Trey Parker from?
Trey Parker and Matt Stone were the creators of South Park.
Sorry, yes,
They
yes.
do the majority of the
Right.
voices.
So Chef himself was a Scientologist. So if you're a Scientologist, you can work anywhere. You don't have to specifically work for any other. You don't have to, like, they don't give you a job and say, right, you are
Nope.
now right. So I could be a Scientologist and work in a shop, or as you say, a store. I could just work in a store and that's it. And
Yep.
and I'm a Scientologist. Right. Okay. It's a wee bit weird because you hear about like people like working on the compound and doing
Yeah.
all this stuff on the compound, and they're like digging holes all day for like just for the sake of it.
Those are Sea Org members.
Sea Org members, right? And I heard about a story that they got done for negligence and not and sort of treating a woman with a medical problem on their compound.
Lisa
But they
McPherson.
Yes, I talked
Back
about this
in,
today. Yeah.
Yep, the mid 90s, she had a psychotic break. She was considered, I believe she was considered type 3, which is one of their categories of psychotic people. And she was taken somewhere in Clearwater. I believe it might have been the Fort Harrison Hotel or some other nearby hotel. And she was treated with what's called the introspection rundown. That's what they use for people who they believe are psychotic. So any members who have had psychotic breaks, they'll be treated via the introspection rundown. Now, I don't know if they've been doing that recently, especially with the press that Lisa McPherson's case had. I don't know if they stopped that, but they essentially, part of the policies of the introspection rundown is keep them in a room, feed them, do whatever, don't talk to them, but they need to get auditing every day until they get cleared of their psychotic problem. Now, they weren't doing surgery on her like you had joked about. They weren't cutting her open or doing anything like that, but they did find, once she was brought to the hospital. By the way, this hospital was 45 minutes away. They could have brought her to one that was 15. They went to the one with the Scientologist doctor because they knew they weren't going to prescribe psychiatric medications.
Wow. Now this is where I sort of disagree. This is where I agree with Scientology a little bit. Wow, look, if the Scientologist watching this, I actually agree with certain things that you do. See, when it comes to certain medications, Tom Cruise is right. They willy-nilly give out medications to people and they sort of feed the big pharmaceutical companies. But where Scientology goes wrong is with somebody with a legitimate sort of disorder who needed psychiatric help through whether that be drugs or psychotherapy. They wouldn't give this. They would do their own auditing and not put them on the right medications and sort of help their head. They essentially made them worse, and it was medical negligence, because they were treating this lady, and as they say, they actually went to the hospital where the Scientologist doctor was instead of going to the 15-minute one. Absolute whack jobs. So
she most likely died on the way to the hospital.
Wow, that's yeah.
But it all comes from one research that Hubbard did of essentially just one guy that he says he found the cure for all psychiatric breaks and all that shit. And essentially he had this guy locked in a room, communicated with him via notes every day. Everyone who was nearby was silent whenever they walked by because they didn't want to create any more engrams or stuff like that would need to be handled through Dianetics.
And we're going to get into that, guys, about engrams, and we're going to explain all that. We're just talking about a specific story of a lady dying in the hands of Scientology on the way to the hospital, and they wouldn't bring her to a proper hospital. They went full cult and brought her to a Scientologist doctor, and who wouldn't prescribe her the right medication and probably talk to her finger or something to make her better. So this is the story that we're talking about here, and then we'll get into the little details about what an engram is and Sea Org and all that there. But this is a crazy story.
But yeah, so I think I want to say it was during the autopsy they found malnutrition because she wasn't eating, she wasn't drinking, bug bites all over her from her living conditions, and I think she had bed sores from being bedridden.
Wow.
They actually did have another incident with the introspection rundown. Let me just check this out. I want to say it was in Arizona. There was one person who actually, Lisa McPherson, sorry. legal
You're
battle.
fine. You're fine.
Yeah, I do know that there was one case where somebody was being held against their will in some kind of compound facility somewhere in like the Southwest. They did manage to call the police. The police came, saw the conditions, and immediately got the guy out because
Right.
they knew it wasn't good.
But there's always these things where they get away with it. They've got very high. Anybody that's involved with Scientology at the highest level, like they've got solicitors, as you say, lawyers that are at the peak pinnacle of their game, and they always manage to creep away from it. Always manage, and they're still here, and it's crazy how they've sneaked and they've squirmed out of these situations. And
It's
I think
because of
that
their contracts.
right.
When you sign a membership contract, you are saying I relinquish all right to psychiatric practices or something like that in replacement for church procedures.
But that should be void under any human rights law.
It should be, but the problem is a lot of courts find it legally binding because they
Wow.
signed it out of their own free will, or supposedly. And that's another story actually. There's a story with religious arbitration which we can talk about later.
Yeah, of course. So listen, let's get into it. So you've got a couple of points that you want to go down. So we've briefed off. We've done a little stories there, and we've talked about the sort of brief history on Scientology. Now let's get into the things, the bullet points that you want to talk about.
Okay, so let me see what you have. The joke that you were talking about with the LSD.
Oh yeah, listen.
Getting the free LSD.
Well, listen, you can just tell L. Ron Hubbard that guy was on LSD and he never wrote a second draft.
It's likely that he was actually on some kind of amphetamines.
Yeah, well, like I've took speed before, and it's never made me right. It's never made me create a religion. Like this guy's just went. You know what? Nah, no second drafts. See what's on that paper? That's the Bible now.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And this is a religion, and we're not going to pay tax. And I get to shag all the women because that's what he was doing.
That was another thing that I wanted to discuss. It's not likely that Hubbard slept with many women. He only slept with Polly Grubb from his first wife. And then when he was part of the OTO with Jack Parsons over in California on the West Coast, he ended up stealing his girlfriend, Sarah Northrup, while they were trying to do like sex magic and all that shit, creating the Antichrist.
Holly, I've got to break it to you here, Holly. I've got to break it to you, right? Was he gay or was he straight?
Who, Parsons or Hubbard?
Hubbard.
Hubbard was straight. Hubbard was completely straight.
There's only two reasons why he started that: to get money and to shag women. And he was getting both of those. And I know a lot of people probably are going to say here, "Oh no, he didn't. Listen, if he was having games like sex magic,
that was before he started Scientology."
Oh well, listen, that's even better. I guarantee he was just driven. Oh. I'm gonna create a compound, get all the girls in this compound, and I'm gonna get all the money, and all these girls are gonna look at me. And do you know what? I don't even need to work out because I'm gonna be wealthy, and they're just gonna want me. It's the ego. Take away the religion here. It's the ego. It's the same as Manson. It's the same as these guys. These guys had massive egos, and they were all. Was Hubbard small too, or was he a big guy?
He was definitely on the heavier side.
Yeah, but what height was he though?
Let me check that.
Well, yeah, he was probably as wide as he was big or something, was he?
L. Ron Hubbard was 6 foot.
Well, do you know what I mean? Well, listen, he still had an ego, and he was like, do you know what? Do you know what? He was right. We're going to get these women, and we're going to put them in a compound, and I'm going to be God. Actually, do you know what? God doesn't exist anymore. I am God. You can just see it. Manson was like that. I'm not saying he's like Charles Manson, but you get my drift.
No, I get it. Yeah,
it's male ego drives, and narcissism just drives us to be this. Do you know what I mean? And now, sorry to go off on one there.
It's all good. He did end up marrying one of the Scientologists that had joined. Mary Sue Whip became Mary Sue Hubbard. She was the one who ran the Guardian's office. and she was one of the people who was imprisoned because of Operation Snow White.
Right. Did the FBI run Operation Snow White?
The Operation Snow White was run by Scientologists to steal all those documents from the government or destroy them.
So they had to infiltrate a government building to destroy.
They infiltrated multiple governmental bodies.
How are
by
they
becoming
still
employees.
How did they? Hold on. Whoa. Hold on. You're telling me, Holly, that a bunch of Scientologists became employees of the government, infiltrated the government to destroy documents, and actually managed to do it?
They did manage to destroy at least some documents that we know of. I don't know if they kept spare copies of them or whatnot, but like I said, when the FBI raided the churches, they found a bunch of those documents along with their other plans to keep critics quiet.
The greatest country on earth, the greatest military and the greatest sort of defense on earth, the United States of America, were breached by a bunch of cult people. Wow. That's like, I don't know. That's like the hobbits beating the orcs.
It is one of the largest infiltrations of the United States government in history, with up to 5,000 covert agents.
5,000? What, a quarter of their people?
They were bigger back then. But
yeah, I'm only joking. I'm just poking a couple of digs at them here. Yeah. That is mind-blowing, Holly. That's a story in itself. We should just look into that and just go through that piece by piece and come back on and just do that whole story.
Yep. And I'll just tell you right now, 11 executives, like I said, including his wife, pled guilty and were convicted in federal court of obstructing justice, burglary of government offices, and theft of documents and government property.
And did they go to jail?
Oh, yeah. 11 people went to jail. Hubbard didn't.
Oh, yeah, because he's God. You're not going to put God in jail.
But his wife did. And he basically threw her under the bus.
Wow, what a prick. Do you know what I mean? That's not ego now. That's being a snake, because a man goes, do you know what? My wife's not going to prison. I ain't going to prison. I'm going to take it in the chin. This is what God does, guys. That's a snake now. That's a snake. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't even think Manson would do that. I think Manson would probably would do the jail time just to prove, look at me. Do you know what I mean? The monkey thing. But, well, actually, maybe not. He was a little small prick too. But yeah. So yeah. That's crazy, Holly, right? You're blowing my mind here with this stuff like this.
And there's another fact that I wanted to bring up that you probably already know about.
Yeah.
Charles Manson, while he was incarcerated, he got 150 hours of auditing before declaring the religion too crazy for himself.
What?
Charles Manson got Scientology auditing while he was in prison.
And he said... So you're telling me...
After 150 hours, he said it was too crazy.
Charles Manson was like, nah, fuck this shit. This shit's too crazy for me. You guys are going to fucking hell. Me, I'm just trying to run a hippie home here where we're, trying to take down Hollywood. Who could blame Manson? Look at Hollywood. He was right. They're all fucking full of... Look at Hollywood. It's terrible. It's a cesspit of negativity. He had a point. But do you know what I mean? He actually said that. That's crazy. Listen, when Manson comes out with something like that, he's like, nah. Maybe that's what he was talking about, because there was an interview with him and he was saying, you don't know the level of crazy that's going out there. He goes, you think I'm crazy? You don't know crazy. But like, he's maybe possibly...
He could have been referencing Scientology.
Wow. Imagine him, the leader of Scientology, just coming in, 4'3", jacked, big medallion on him. Tom Cruise around his arm, hitting Tom Cruise around the side of the head. Right, come on, Tom. We're going to take over the world together, kid. That's crazy, Holly. That's good. So Scientology then was sort of introduced into prisons as a sort of a self-help scheme then?
I think it was just anybody who I think it was part of religious freedom. Anybody who wanted to get that kind of service could. It's not that it was introduced to prisons. It was just out of inmate request.
Then there needs to be more auditing, should I say. There needs to be more auditing for any type of religion, Catholic, Buddhism, Islamic, any type of religion going into the prisons, because if you're trying to essentially what they're trying to do is radicalize somebody through a crazy religion cult that is Scientology. If you're trying to do that, that's going to do more harm than good. See if Manson had have actually played their game and went into Scientology, that could have Scientology could have went down a route of like Hitler or something. Do you know what I mean? It could have been like we could have seen like I don't know the rise of the Scientologist Nazis. We'd all be sitting, I don't know, being audited right now. Listen, that's just my brain going off on a crazy one there. But so let's get into it. So right, so what's the bullet points that you wanted to talk about?
All right, so we covered that one. What else we got here? You did mention, yeah, we got the introspection rundown, the human trafficking in the Sea Org. It does happen. It's well, they like you said, they're being investigated and they're still being investigated. They take your passports. So anybody who's coming in from another country, their passports are taken. So they're having a lot more hard time getting out. You're given, like we mentioned last time, $50 a week tops. That's if you're doing your stats are up. And that's another thing, statistics and all that shit. That's part of the organization system, which would you mind if I shared my screen for a little bit?
You work away, Holly. You can share the screen. Of course you can.
Let me see if share window. This one. Okay. Are you seeing this right now?
So I'll put this up on the screen. Hold on. Let me slip it to this and slip it to this. And I'll take this off. Hold on. Just let me take this off and take the ticker off too. So is that big? I can put it up full screen if you want.
I think you've got enough. You've got it big enough. All right. So this is actually, and this goes into another point as well. You were mentioning 15,000 pages of technical writings.
Yes, I couldn't believe that. Yeah,
that's under the red volumes alone.
Right. So what we're looking at here is the red volumes of Scientology.
These are all your auditing processes, your rundowns, and everything that you need to be an auditor or to get auditing.
Wow.
And then you have the green volumes, which is how to run an organization. As you can see, you've got your management series, you got your divisions. Every org has 7 divisions: the Hubbard Communications Office, Dissemination, Treasury, Technical, Qualifications, Public, and Executive. This is their way of organizing and running their orgs.
Well, this is why they were successful, because they went into so much detail.
You can go into as much detail as you want. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff in here is a little crazy, but like one part of a like this first one, 1,100 pages.
Right.
This is how much was written about running an org. And this is KSW, something we'll talk about later. But yeah, that's how technical they can get.
Wow. And that is basically the holy grail of Scientology and running an organization. So running an organization is is being a Scientologist, but being like sort of like a bishop or something.
Like how bishops run their own churches?
Is that what that is? Like running your own sort of your own parish?
You're not running your own franchise. That's actually another thing. Missions that I had forgotten to mention previously. Missions, think of a class 5 org, the ones where you go in at the very beginning, you get all your basic services and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Imagine that, but smaller, less staff, and less services on their total roster. You can get some of the training, but you can't get all the way up to class 5. You can't become a full class 5 auditor unless you go to an org. But in a mission, I think you can still get auditing up to the state of clear. However, missions, sorry.
No, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say missions aren't really popular nowadays. They're in like countries where Scientology isn't really all that present. Mm-hmm. Like some African countries, some Asian countries have missions, but they're pretty much almost not in the US at all anymore.
So for the viewers, let's break down the certain keywords for the people that don't know, right? So what is an org? What is an org?
All right. So you have an org is essentially what you would think of as their version of their church. You go into an org to do your services, get your auditing, do your training. Mm-hmm. That's where all your Scientology practicing occurs, at some type of org. You have your class 5 orgs, which are called that because on one side of the bridge to total freedom, that's the audit, that's the training side. You can become an auditor. Mm-hmm. At a class 5 org, you can train up to the level of class 5. Mm-hmm. On the the hell was the word? Pre-clear side. Mm-hmm. at a class 5, or you can go up to the level of clear. Anything higher than that, and you have to go to an advanced organization.
So
That's where you can do your OT levels.
so just for the people, what is clear? What does that mean to get up to the level of clear?
Clear refers to a state of being in Dianetics. You supposedly have two parts of your mind, analytical and reactive. Reactive holds all your negative problems, your negative emotions affiliated with those incidents, like I mentioned earlier. And that's what you get auditing for. You get Dianetic auditing to get rid of those negative emotions, or what he says, different incidents have actual electrical charge affiliated with them. So once you release that charge, you take that engram, that moment of pain or unconsciousness, and I believe there was something with a file clerk. They called it a file clerk, and it has to do with the person or the thing that gives you the incidents as you go, the thing that helps to come up with the incidents. But once you get the engram reduced and you get all that charge gone, you blow the charge, then it becomes essentially a normal memory and doesn't have any real emotional impact on you anymore.
Yeah.
So like if your mother died or whatever, and you eventually go to therapy for that.
They actually believe that these sort of experiences that you've had in this life and the past life sort of hold on to you, and they need to get rid of this to clear you. Hence,
when you become clear, all your engrams are gone. You have nothing but your analytical mind remaining, and you become supposedly a much better person. You become more analytical, more computational. You can do much more, supposedly greater things than normal unclear people can.
Yeah, and what's an engram for the people?
An engram is a moment of pain or unconsciousness, and that actually helps to lead to another point.
Yep.
So engrams, like I said, moment of pain or unconsciousness. Engrams can be received during your life. So an example would be a woman getting beaten by her husband. She's beaten, she's rendered unconscious, she falls to the floor, a chair is overturned, she's maybe kicked in the side, she's told that she's a faker, that she's no good. There might be a faucet running in the background or a car passing on the street outside. An engram contains all of those, the feelings, the sounds, the sights, possibly, the smells, whatever senses.
The sensory awareness is wrapped up into one word, the engram.
Is in that engram.
Yeah.
And so the reactive mind considers... Hubbard said it thinks in identities. One thing is identical to another. This is a process. This is a thing that he calls A equals A equals A equals A. So, for example, the pain of the kick is equivalent to the chair overturning, which is equivalent to the passing car, which is equivalent to the faucet, which is equivalent to being called a faker, which is equivalent to the emotion. And it's all this stuff supposedly is the same.
He does have a point, though. He does have a point, though. He does have a point
in some way, but not all of it.
Not all of it. It's like physics. He's talking about physics there, and in general, it's physics. Basically, what he's saying about it's like every action has a reaction type sort of thing. But he's talking about it as an actual physical thing that inside you that you need to get rid of.
Yeah. So an example of an engram re-stimulating or coming back up from in your life would be a woman is in an environment which contains enough similarities to what happened in the engram. Maybe there's a faucet running in the background. Maybe a car is passing outside. Maybe a chair is overturned. She'll actually experience what's called re-stimulation. If the faucet is running and the car is passing, and say her husband was just yelling at her about something, not hitting her, not anything like that, she may experience what's called a somatic, which is a feeling of something. So she may feel pain in the area where she was kicked previously. And so she might start thinking that she was a faker, that she was no good. So these things that her husband had said and did to her in that previous incident are coming back to her mind in this incident now, which is causing worse symptoms or somatics. And these need to be run out and
physical deja vu, basically. It's
essentially, physical and mental deja vu.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot to process. Or like, I'm just thinking about that. It's like, I agree with some of the stuff that he's saying. It's a bit psychotherapy and a bit psychiatry for me, but he's against that type of stuff. So he's trying to sound. You can see when he's writing this stuff, he's trying to be intelligent in what he's trying to do here, but as we know, not everything that he says is bullshit, but a lot of the things he's saying is actually unmedical and it's actually untrue. Do you know what I mean about the whole
Yeah.
engram things? I suppose you can call there's engrams in all religions about taking away that negative energy and stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't actually get at him too much about that because that's actually doesn't seem like a bad
He
thing to
did
talk.
take some of his actually a lot of his ideas from Freudian psychoanalysis.
Right. So psychotherapy.
Some aspects of it, but some of it he just completely butchered and made up out of his own ass.
Yeah, because he was a science fiction novelist at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And he, do you know what I mean? But listen, right. So we'll move on from that. Then that's very well explained, Holly. Thank you for doing that. That was
Okay.
great. I actually understood that fully. Like it's crazy that's a thing. Like so what's the next point?
All right, so we had obviously we talked about the Sea Org, the human trafficking on their compounds and all that stuff. So I mentioned the low pay, the $50 a week.
Mhm.
They do get food, clothing, shelter. They get all their stuff taken care of by the church. They're only what they owe is essentially their labor. And they get free services for being in the Sea Org. They get free services for doing this stuff. Now, if you're in the Sea Org, you're going to be working most likely 16-hour days, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You are working your entire day or life for the church. It never stops. The person
Sea Org is the lowest when you finish the auditing and finish the.
All right, yeah, I forgot to mention that. Sea Org, where you are in the Sea Org has nothing to do with how much auditing you get.
Right.
You could be in the Sea Org and be not even be clear. You could be in the Sea Org and be OT8. Where you are doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in the Sea Org in order to become OT.
Yeah.
But if you join the Sea Org, you are joining that 24/7 paramilitary organization, and that's where you sign that billion-year contract.
Right. Do you think we could put up on the screen the tier system that you put up the last time? And
the bridge?
If you want to, only if you want to.
I can do that. Let me just load that up quick.
And we'll just show the viewers sort of the ranking systems of Scientology, and you can sort of explain that bit by bit. Because the last time you explained to me, you're saying, look, nobody from the bottom is getting to the top ever.
Mm-hmm. So let me know if you can see this.
Yeah, I've got it. I'm just going to switch this and then add the screen. I can. Right. Yes, that's it in the screen. I can make that bigger if need be.
I can't see how big it is on your end. Let me just open it up in a separate window. Oh Jesus, it's doing that. Oh shit. All right. Hang on. Hang on 1 second. Anyway, sorry. All right, where did you want me to go on this?
I can do that. So just explain to the viewers. Go to the bottom of the yes. So this is essentially the ranking systems of Dianetics and Scientology introduction, and there's two parts. There's the right side and there's the left side, and both are different, but it's it's whatever faction you're put into, you rise up through the ranks, but nobody ever gets by. If you come in broke and you don't have any money, you're never getting by sort of the bottom half, are you?
No, not really, no.
So it's not set up for people to win. It's set up for people to work and to basically just be a part of something instead of being a leader. You need to be a millionaire to even have a shot at being at the top. So right, let's right. So explain these here. What's this in the screen?
So these are the OT levels.
Right, OT
These
level.
are what you had mentioned, what you've referred to as operating Thetan. That's what that means. Thetan is your spirit, your soul, whatever you call it. And that's kind of what makes this a religion to begin with, is the fact that they work on the spirit. So that's not something you can necessarily prove scientifically.
Yeah.
So, like I said, clear. This is where you stop once you achieve it at your class 5 org.
Mm-hmm.
This is where class 5 graduate, that is where you stop at a class 4 org as an auditor, and you then go to the advanced organizations to get that additional training. Now, I will say, as an auditor, I believe you can only go up to class 8 or class 9, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sea Org members are the only ones that are allowed to be auditors up to class 12.
Right. Okay.
So if you want to become that type of auditor, you have to be a Sea Org member.
Okay. And
So
what do you need to become a Sea Org member?
Sea Org member, all you have to do is say you're already a Scientologist. You just walk into the org and say, your local org, and say, I want to join the Sea Org. They'll give you the billion-year contract. You'll sign it. You'll then later be told where you're going, whether that's California, Florida, wherever they're going to have you, whatever Sea Org base they're going to have you at. If you're on the East Coast, it's likely that you're going to be going to the PAC base. Not the PAC base. PAC base is California. You're most likely going to go to Flag if you're on the East Coast, which is the hotel in Clearwater, Florida. If you're near the West Coast, you're going to go to Flag or the PAC. My bad. You're going to go to the Pacific Area Command Base, or you're going to go to the International Base over in Hemet, California. It used to be this big, like, resort golf course mixed with a bunch of other stuff. That was later made into the Scientology International Management Headquarters.
Mm-hmm. That is crazy. So not all Scientologists have the billion-year contract. Then
Nope.
Okay, I get that. Yeah, so that makes sense now. For you to even progress to the highest levels, you need to basically sign your soul to these people for 1 billion years.
Only if you want to become a class 12 auditor.
Okay. Yeah.
If you want to go to OT8, you don't. If you are on the processing side at all, that's what they call it, the processing side and the training side.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on the processing side, you don't have to be a Sea Org member to become an OT8.
Okay.
So you can go through this whole side without ever having worked for the church.
Right. That's pretty crazy. That's really like to have two separate sort of worlds, should you say, two separate things that they're doing there in one religion. It's crazy. That's crazy. It's I'm not going to lie to you, it's hard to understand, and I would need to take my time at researching it and reading about it to actually fully understand this, but I'm grasping it a little here.
It can be extremely overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. I'm not going to lie to you. So do you want to talk any more about that?
Yeah. So I actually want to refer back to something with the Sea Org. When you first start the Sea Org, you're going to be joining what's called the EPF, the Estates Project Force, which is essentially boot camp. You're going to be taking care of landscaping duties, probably some maintenance stuff, and you're also going to be going through specified courses before you become a Sea Org member. You're going to take I believe it's called the Sea Org hat. Hat refers to your job or your post in the church. So if you're a staff member, you have a staff hat. If you're a Sea Org member, you have a Sea Org hat. It's referencing, Hubbard uses the analogy of firemen and police officers. They have different hats. They have different duties.
Yeah. I get it's like different organizations sort of to the religion or the cult.
So you take the Sea Org hat, you take a bunch of other courses in the EPF, and then once you graduate the EPF, you move on to the official Sea Org.
Right.
And then God forbid you fuck up. If you are what's called a stat crasher, which means your production statistics are low, either just like extremely low, or you're an L1 RSer. L1 stands for List 1. It involves an auditing procedure with the E-meter. You can be in what's called a security check, where it's basically a confessional where you have to confess crimes and stuff like that to them. You're in the Sea Org, and they'll use List 1 as something to ask you. So they'll say, do you have any evil intentions about David Miscavige? Do you have any evil intentions about L. Ron Hubbard, Dianetics, Mary Sue, any of the real big names of the church? Now, there's a certain phenomena on the E-meter called a rock slam, which I believe we briefly discussed last time. But occasionally the meter could short circuit or break, and the needle will just start going absolutely insane.
And that's when you're fucked and they start beating the shit out of you.
They don't beat you. If you do get a rock slam on a List 1, then you are immediately sent to what's called the RPF, the Rehabilitation Project Force, which is one former Sea Org member likes to call it a Maoist reconditioning camp.
So just to explain this to the viewers, What? So this is a device that's been. Has it got like a probe, and they put it up like a probe to your face or
I
something?
will actually grab it. I have it currently charging this time.
Hold on, you have one.
Yeah, I showed you in the last podcast. I
Oh,
had the two cans in my hand.
was that what that was? It was an
That was an
e-meter.
e-meter.
Oh, and, sorry, I didn't realize.
It's all good.
The name didn't click on there. But
I'll if you don't mind sharing
right, yeah,
my
yeah. No, listen,
um
show everything. Show
if
the
you
whole.
make the camera the full view on my side,
Yeah, yeah, of course. I
it'll
don't know.
extend the table and show
Yeah,
everything that I got there. All right, quick thing before I get the e-meter. So if you follow my channel at all, you'll notice that I did an unboxing recently of some Scientology materials that I just purchased. And that includes 3 lecture series, one of the technical bulletins that we just looked at in that big red volume series, and 4 research and discovery series. These are all transcripts of lectures that L. Ron Hubbard gave. Now, mind you, I have only 4 of them. There's 14 of them total. I am currently waiting for numbers 2 through 7, as well as number 9. And technical bulletins, I'm currently waiting for about 10 more volumes to come in, as well as 2 other parts of it. Ronan, I don't know if you're still there, if you can hear me at all. You there?
can you
All
hear
right,
me?
I wasn't sure if you could talk while while the camera was facing.
Could you hear
me.
me? Can you hear me?
I could not hear a thing you said.
Yeah, the sound must go whenever I take myself off
That
the
kind
screen.
of sucks.
Yeah, no,
but-
listen, it's fine. It's okay. You go
All
and
right,
get. You
I'll
go
go
and get.
grab the thing. Give me 1 second.
Right, guys. Just to recap, that she's actually going to come here with this e-meter. Right, it's like 2 cans and it's a probe. If they go over to some poor bastard and put this on them and it has a short circuit, they take this poor bastard out through the back door and fucking grill him. Or whatever they do, rehabilitation, whatever that involves, probably stick it up his ass and put on full charge and shock the poor bastard's kidneys. This is what it is. This is some culty shit. I can't believe that she's got all this stuff. This is like pretty cool stuff here. So whenever Holly brings it onto the screen, what I'll do is I'll just put it full screen. You can't hear me, but listen, I'm watching. This is great. Like, look at that, guys. That's mad. Like, an e-meter. If you ever fly over to America, you have to plug that thing in and just see if it goes off the Richter scale with me. Like, it's probably just going to go mad and blow up.
All right, so let me see if I can move my camera over.
Yeah, I'll put a full screen now.
All right. I was trying to keep the anyway. All right, so I'll fix that. So this is an e-meter. The lighting absolutely sucks, so I'll see if I can move it a little bit closer. I'll move some of this stuff out of the way for you. This is a Mark 7 e-meter. It is currently out of date, as the newest issue is the Mark 8. But this is the needle that moves across on the e-meter. I actually don't know what exactly the rest of these are called, the rest of these dials and switches are called. I actually have a book for that came with this called Understanding the E-Meter by L. Ron Hubbard. But I believe this is resistance to something. Let me see if I can get this to work. If we bring the power to high, bring this down, see if we can tone arm reset. Testing. What the hell? Really? It breaks now? Are you okay? So if we do this and we have... Nope, nothing there. Okay. It's a little finicky. Let me see if I can get this just a couple of notches higher. This is absolutely ridiculous that I can't get this to work properly, but is there a way to... Okay, all right. We're getting somewhere. Up the resistance. Up the ease of resistance. Can't squeeze the cans. Can't squeeze, no. Take the ring off. Oh. Getting something here. Up this. Usually there's a test that you could do.
I was going to say, Holly, you're a perfect Scientologist.
I'm trying to get this stupid thing to actually move, because there's a way that you can squeeze these two cans in order to get the needle to kind of flick.
Holly, can I just say something? I'm popping back in here. Can I just say
go
something?
ahead.
Right?
Hop in whenever you need.
I'm just thinking about the poor bastard that would had that them probes put on him and that thing to short circuit, and then he has to spend 9 months in the hole.
Okay, that's another thing. The hole. That was for about 100 of Scientology's highest executives, including Mike Rinder, who was a part of Leah Remini's show. He was the former international spokesperson. Not every Sea Org member went to the hole. This was only a thing that happened at the international base in Hemet. Other than that, you'd get sent to the RPF. The RPF was a manual labor program where you also had 5 hours of coursework a day. You had 7.5 hours of sleep every night. You were basically considered the lowest of the low in the Sea Org. You were basically a criminal in the Sea Org because you fucked up. You fucked up badly enough that you needed to get sent to the RPF. You were either a stat crasher non-producer, which has to do with, again, your statistics and seeing how good you do at your job. L1RSer, again, rock slam on the meter. Against the list of David Miscavige, L. Ron Hubbard, all that. That's your evil intentions. And there's another one. A lot of people who are on the RPF were on for what's called Out 2D. 2D is the second dynamic, which has to do with sex, family, creativity, which you had mentioned in your previous video. One of the people who was on the RPF, which is one of the people that is potentially interested in coming on as a guest, was on for Out 2D stuff. He did some things, and the church didn't like it, so he was brought to the RPF. One other person, her name is Nora Crest, or she has a different name now, but she was basically brought to the RPF because she was Out 2D, because she was essentially in a romantic relationship with another woman. She's a lesbian, and the church didn't like that, so she was sent to the RPF to go do her shit.
Wow. Can I just say, just on a side note there, Holly has made. I'll just listen. If the person's watching, he could be watching. I don't know. But Holly made contact with who?
All right. Oh, is this working? Sorry.
You're a perfect Scientologist. Look, it's not moving. You're a perfect Scientologist.
I might have a floating needle here. All right, I think it's low. Is this working? Shit. I might have to clean this out. I don't know if this is dirty. Up that. Lower that. Bring that down. The numbers aren't working like they used to. I don't know why. Meter check. Here we go.
Holly, it's 100% fine.
Wait. Oh, we just had something. Oh, short circuit.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
We're getting this to work now. All right. Let's see what we got here.
It is. It's flashing about there, like.
There we go. I got the can squeeze to finally work. So.
Wow.
If we lower the resistance a little bit, see if
we're watching some poor bastard's fate here. Like.
Set. Now imagine. I'm just trying to let it go just enough. Imagine being on this can. Say it's like you don't actually have any evil intentions against L. Ron Hubbard or David Miscavige, and all of a sudden the needle just starts going like this.
So you just move that and it starts going mad.
You can just squeeze these and it starts going mad. So
basically, if some other fella or girl in Scientology didn't like you, they would just squeeze it. That would go crazy, and you would spend whatever.
If someone in Scientology, if someone else was squeezing them, then they're the ones being audited. You aren't. It's only if you are the one that causes this. You're the one that gets in trouble. The one being audited is the one who gets in trouble. Right.
So you're holding that while they're asking you questions.
Yep, you're holding this while they're asking you questions, and the needle is just gradually moving around, doing its thing.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden it just goes absolutely fucking insane. That's a rock slam.
So if I was holding that and somebody said to me, here, Liverpool has just won the league, and I squeezed that and it went crazy because I'm a United fan, then that means I'm angry or I've got some negative emotion inside me.
It depends. There's a ton of different what do you call it, phenomena that can happen with an e-meter needle, which has a whole bunch of different stuff for it. That's why you have all those technical volumes. It goes into detail about exactly what each thing means and all that shit.
There's so much
There
room for
is,
corruption there. It's
but
unbelievable. It's the
I'll
biggest
be sitting here and I'll be going over some incident in Dianetics or whatever, and the needle will just be moving, doing its thing and whatever, and that's how you indicate what process to run next on the pre-clear during that session.
You have sort of a part of history there, Holly. You've got a
Yeah.
part of history, and at one stage they will go away, and nobody's going to have them. It's a part of history, and fair play to you. You know, it's great that you have that, and you can actually show us all this. So there was another question I was going to ask there. I totally forgot. What's the other bullet points that you wanted to go through?
Give me 1 second. Let me just fix everything here. I also had the field staff members. You were talking about how you felt that the Church of Scientology was a pyramid scheme that only benefits the higher ups. I don't necessarily count that as true because you can be as high up on the OT levels as you want. Doesn't mean you're going to get more money.
Right. Okay.
There's a thing called FSMs, field staff members. I don't know if it's still a thing, but it was at one point, where staff members could pick people to try to recruit into the organization. And when they recruited them and got them to buy courses or whatnot, they would get a small commission from that. So if you went in and bought $5,000 worth of courses or auditing, they may get $500 from it. They get, what is it?
That's nothing, though. They're giving nothing.
Well, if you're a staff member, it's a lot because you're not getting paid much.
But they don't. The thing about it is they don't really need money because they're just working all day for them. Even if you are sort of higher up, but it's crazy how they got away with this. That's slavery.
Well,
essentially,
the problem is, if you're in Sea Org, yeah, it tends towards more of the human trafficking stuff. But if you're a person who just works at a Class 5 org, you're most likely going to need a regular job to supplement your income. You're free to do whatever you want. You just have to be at the church working.
Right. Okay. That's
There's
crazy.
2 different levels of working for them.
Yeah. No, you can see it. I would love to actually go through all this here properly in my spare time and actually read about it. Like you have, you know so much about this. Is unbelievable.
And I'm actually going to say this right now, just as a little self-promotion thing. On my channel right now, I'm currently creating 2 series simultaneously. One series goes over the Keeping Scientology Working Policy, which is the most important policy in the Church of Scientology. It's got an entire series of policy letters and bulletins associated with it that I'm currently going over, as well as the Student Hat, which is their course on how to study and be a good student.
Well, what I'm going to do now, Holly, is I'm actually going to share your let me just know if that's your video. No, it's a different video. I'm going to share your channel in it's Holly Phoenix, isn't it?
I believe so. I actually don't know if it's Holly Phoenix.
Holly Phoenix.
I wasn't sure if I gave it my real last name, but
so if I actually let me go into my subscriptions here and actually get this channel. And what I'll do is give people a description of the person that you contacted. And, and the person who possibly could be coming on live.
I contacted 4 people, 2 of which have not responded yet. One of them is Nora, the person from the RPF who was part of the Sea Org. Another was Tim DeWall. He was former staff. Chris Shelton, who is potentially going to be on, because he responded, as well as Aaron Smith-Levin. Both of them are ex-Sea Org. One worked on the West Coast, one worked on the East Coast. Chris Shelton was on staff, I believe, for 7 or 8 years, and then worked in the Sea Org for another 17, something like that. I think he joined the Sea Org in the mid 90s and then left in like 2013. He was on the RPF himself. He actually graduated the RPF. He managed to complete the full program and go back to work in the Sea Org. Nora had left the RPF. She just didn't go back. but yeah, Chris spent a little over 3 years on the RPF on this manual labor brainwashing program.
And he's completely left now.
He's completely left now. He actually has a channel of his own where he talks about Scientology and all that stuff. So he's talking about essentially the same things we are. He goes into more detail about different aspects. He has a podcast that he has weekly. He has Q&A segments that people can ask about and all that stuff. He's gone into so much depth.
And what's his full name?
Chris Shelton.
Chris Shelton. So Chris, if you're watching this, sir, I know you passed on the live stream tonight. So Chris, listen, I'm from Ireland. I don't know much about Scientology, but it would be an absolute honor to get you on here to speak to you about your experiences. I know I joke about a lot of things, and that's just who I am. You have to be able to take a bit of a joke now and again. But if you come on and you have a chat, listen, I would love to learn from what you know, and Holly will be sort of co-hosting that, and well, she will be co-hosting it because and that means I'll learn more from that, and that's what it's essentially about. And it's crazy that that there's people that were in this, they've defected away from, or that's a really bad word, defected away. It's like North
Well,
Korea
I mean, they are defectors. They left.
Yeah, the defected away. Yeah. But the way they're treated, these people are treated. I seen a couple of Joe Rogan's podcasts where they were just completely and utterly ridiculed. They were followed. They were discredited. These people just wanted to get a job, live a normal life. Like if I become a Muslim, I'm a Catholic, but if I become a Muslim, the Catholic Church isn't going to follow me about and try to discredit me. There is a creepy element to this here. Yeah, it's just crazy. But sir, listen, if you'd like to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome to, and I'd appreciate that.
Anybody, for whatever reason, Nora, Tim, Aaron, Chris, any of you, or even any other former Scientologists, Ronan is absolutely happy to have you on. Wait, that gets me back to the point.
Yeah.
Aaron Smith Levin, he is currently running for city council member in Clearwater in Florida. That is actually where the Scientology Mecca is. That's the flag land base and all that stuff. That's actually most likely where David Miscavige works now. He used to work in the international base over in Hemet, but he now most likely works down at Flag.
Where's Hemet?
Hemet is, I don't exactly know geographically where Hemet is. Hemet's in California.
Still in the USA then?
Yes, in the USA.
Yeah.
But Aaron was working as a Sea Org member down at the Flag land base. Now he's out. Like I said, he's running for city council member. But what's funny is I want to say it's the Downtown Development Board for the city of Clearwater has 5 Scientologists on its board. 5 out of the 7 are currently Scientologists. That's a bit,
that's a bit weird. That if you ask me, that is a weird thing to be doing, because for instance, it's a small religion or cult, whatever you want to call it, and they're in there. Do you know what I mean? It's very strange. It's a very strange thing for that to even be going on. But yes. So any other points?
All right. What was I just talking about? Aaron Smith Levin down the church.
Yeah.
I did want to mention that one of the members of the Downtown Development Board, his name is Mark Bunker. He is not a Scientologist. He never was, but he is a famous critic. And he actually helped run something called the Lisa McPherson Trust.
Right.
Which was related to that woman who died.
Because from the hands of Scientologists.
He basically ran some kind of organization dedicated to her.
So how, that sort of doesn't align with the way Scientologists work? Do they want him out? Do they hate him? Do they work with him? Or do they?
I mean, they obviously have to work with him, but there are, especially one of them, Paris Marfopoulos or something like that. There's one of them on there who absolutely does not like Mark Bunker. And I'm sure none of them do, because the church has probably told them Mark Bunker's considered suppressive. So obviously they can't be affiliated with him in any way like that.
What I don't get is about Scientology here, right? And I think we've covered a lot of points. And what we'll do is we'll get Holly back on to cover other points too.
It's just going to be a continuous thing, pretty much. There's always going to be more.
Yeah, we'll do a continuous thing. But what I think I'm going to end, if you don't mind, is there anything else you want to talk about? But I want to end it on a
Let me run through this quick. I think I wanted to run through. See if I can find it here. the screenshots, pictures, VR. Nope. All right. There was something I had taken a picture of. Oh, I actually got it right here. So if for any of you who saw the last podcast, you'll remember that I took it. Where's the fucking test? All right. Either way.
Take your time. There's
I
loads of
took
time.
an
Take your time.
OCA when I first entered the church, and there was a point where I took a second one online. They actually have it online, and you can take it.
Yeah, so Holly essentially started the process of becoming a Scientologist just to see what it was all about.
Yep.
Basically.
And I actually got, it's like I said, 200 yes, no, maybe questions, and then at the end they recommend services for you to take. Completely free. So if you guys want to go fuck around on this test, go right ahead. It's on Scientology's website. Just look up Oxford Capacity Analysis. There were questions that I saw on there that I wanted to mention. One of them is, does an unexpected action cause your muscles to twitch? So I'm like, is that just flinching?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, for instance, like sometimes I'll be, this happens to me all the time. Sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'll move my head really fast and my leg will just jerk. Is that what they mean about that? Do you know what I mean?
I have no idea. They don't clarify it. They have a lot of questions that they don't clarify. Are you in favor of color bar and class distinction? Could you allow someone to finish those two final words in a crossword puzzle without interfering? That was question number 156. Question number 53. Do you get an after reaction when something unexpected, such as an accident or other disturbing incident, takes place? Don't most people?
Yeah, it's like they're trying to, from the get-go, they're trying to break down your psyche.
They say it's what you think of yourself. Are you a slow eater? It's like, and then there are some that have multiple answers that can be interpreted in different ways. Like number 88, if you were invading another country, would you feel sympathetic towards conscientious objectors in the country? That can have two possibilities. If you're the dictator who's invading the country, you probably don't give a shit. But if you're the soldier who's just working on the front lines, you may have some sympathy.
Well, how I would answer that question is, I'm a bit of a prick. I would say, well, because I'm part of the 99.999% of planet Earth that has human emotions, and it, isn't a psychotic person like the rest of the people that are running the world, I probably would have empathy for anybody that even has that's criticizing me. It's just these people are asking you this to see if you're a sociopath. And if I guarantee, see if you're a sociopath, they're probably like, listen, get this guy going. He's gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure there are some results that you can get that would immediately have them kick you out the door.
Yeah.
But no, just these questions are so weird to me. Like one of them is, where is it? Are you usually undisturbed by noises off when you are trying to rest? Noises off is in quotations. I had so much trouble trying to figure out what the fuck that meant. Yeah. And I don't think I ever did.
So yeah, noises. So say that again. Say that question again.
Are you usually undisturbed by noises off when you're trying to rest?
Noises. I think what they mean, noises off something. So are you, when you're trying to rest and there's a noise off something, they didn't explain themselves, a noise off something, then
like you hear something?
Like a clock, a refrigerator, and maybe have something cooking in the oven. Guinea pigs. I have guinea pigs, they'll just squeak. Yeah, it does. It does my head in. I'm terrible for that.
But yeah, that's the thing. A lot of these can be interpreted in multiple ways, so you can't tell what he means by it, because they won't. No one's there while you're taking the test to help you specify that shit.
Yeah, it's like they're making you use your imagination even on the questions.
Mm-hmm. And
it's
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's red flags from the get-go. Red flags.
Or ones that they word in such a way that you might misanswer it if you don't read it fully enough. Such as, does a minor failure on your part rarely trouble you? Yes, if it's rare. No, if it's not. Essentially, yes, if it's rare. No, if it's not rare. If you don't read it carefully, you might misanswer it. You may say yes if you think the answer is not rare. if
Is this an intelligence test?
I don't fucking know. Sometimes it seems like it.
It's an intelligence test. It's a logical intelligence test because, for instance, sometimes if you think about it, they don't want people coming in that are PhDs in physics and chemistry and they're working for NASA. They want people coming in. They want people coming in with logic, but at the same time easily to manipulate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the thing is, a lot of the people back in the older days of Scientology had PhDs. They were very, very smart people. Hubbard's basically says, for Scientology, we want to make the able more able.
So there's people with PhD. There was people with PhDs that I suppose it makes sense because they're all about aliens coming to get them and stuff, aren't they? Like that's the premise of the whole religion. Aliens are going to come down and liberate them from this shit.
No,
Is that where did
that
that
was
come
Heaven's
from?
Gate.
Yeah, you spoke about Heaven's Gate. Do you want to come back on and do a separate episode about Heaven's Gate?
I'd love to.
Do you know a lot? You know a lot about Heaven's Gate?
I know some of the basics and some of a little bit more intermediate stuff, but I would have to do some more research in order to get a fuller answer of it. I do have two of their books, I think it's the only ones that they've ever had, but they were written by members and these huge ass purple books of their doctrines and why the leader is essentially the Messiah.
Yeah, so we'll do a Heaven's Gate one in the next couple of weeks, and we'll get that done. I would love to do that because I love to know about this stuff, and we'll talk on the phone and stuff. But listen, do you is there anything else you want to talk about? I was going to end it quite soon.
The final thing I did want to mention had to do with my results for the OCA. I wasn't able to find the picture of the graph, but I was recommended what's called the Personal Efficiency Course and a book which I actually currently own called The Problems of Work.
This should be good.
Can I go grab it?
Oh yeah, listen, yeah, fine. So guys, like this is crazy. Like the fact that them questions, it is an intelligence test 100% to see if you're smart enough to answer the questions that they're asking, or maybe interpret what type of mind frame that you have. But I would love. Tell you what, guys, right? You know what I'm just gonna try to become a Scientologist just for the pure fun of it. Just to see what happens. I know there's one in Dublin I can go down to. Probably kick me out straight away though. Probably like. But remember, guys, subscribe to Holly's channel. I've left it in the live chat.
I gotta say, one of these days I'll probably do a YouTube video about my collection of Scientology materials.
No, do listen, and I'll just let you know, guys. Subscribe to Holly's channel. I'll be putting it in the comments, the description, and it's in the live chat. So after this video is done, you'll find it in the comments, the description, and the live chat.
So this is the book that I was recommended, The Problems of Work. This essentially, from what I've gathered so far, has to do with basically how to be a more efficient person, how to do better at your job and all that shit. Just basic concepts. But yeah, so that was the last thing I wanted to cover was my results and what they would have recommended me.
That's Holly. That's crazy. And you know what we'll do, right? We've covered a good bit there, but I actually see us now going into little. So I think the next time round, what we'll do is we'll pick a scenario from a story from Scientology, like the FBI type stuff, and we'll pick a scenario and we'll just talk about that. Okay.
All right. And so what do you think? An Operation Snow White?
Operation Snow White. And if anybody is new to the channel at that time, what we can do is we can leave the link for this and the previous one in the description, and they can go back, watch them, and then they can follow through with the new one, because sometimes it can be a wee bit complicated for new people coming in. But yeah, what's it? Operation
Snow White.
I was going to say Operation Snowflake. that would probably good. Like, well, so Operation Snow White, and that will be, I'll premiere that, and we'll do
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate there's two. So we've got two, Heaven's Gate.
We still got to do the Bridge episode too, so that's 3.
That's 3. Bridge.
We got the ex-Scientologist, that's 4.
Yeah, well, there's 4.
There's gonna be probably a shit ton more, hopefully.
Listen, the ex-Scientologist, that will be the main one. I wouldn't be able to do that if you weren't here, so you have to do that. I don't care if you're working that day.
I'm excited.
Because I'll just listen. There'd be no point because I would just make a shit show. You know what I mean? You would have to be there. So guys, listen. Thanks very much for tuning in. That's great. I've learned a lot today again. Brilliant. Loved it, Holly. Brilliant. You're all
great working with you, Ronan.
You're always welcome on this channel, Holly.
Thank
So
you.
listen, guys, listen, peace.
Peace, everybody.